What's going on, guys? It is I, RGT85. Hope everyone is doing well. I got a little bit of a chest cold going on, so if my voice gets a little funky in this video, just, go along with it. But we've got video game news to talk about, damn it, so we are going to talk about this news. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well if you enjoyed it. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And first off, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, leaked online. People already have copies of the game from retailers, and that's interesting. I have nothing to say on it. I don't need Nintendo coming after me for another thing. So if you got it, post your little videos, get in trouble, get those mean emails from Nintendo and enjoy. Next up, I want to give a little credit where credit is due, and that is with the Nintendo Switch Online service. Now, obviously, we talk about this a lot. I talk about my problems with the service, areas they can improve upon, and one area that I'm always sort of harking on for Nintendo to improve upon is, of course, the free game trials that they offer sometimes. We've seen a bunch of games come on here. Recently, we've got Jackbox Party 6 as the free game trial, and it's like, that and Among Us. It's like, these aren't games that really need to get free game trials. Like, you pretty much know what you're getting into with these games. You have so many other games from your first-party catalog, so many third-party games. These are the games you need to be focusing on, and they need to be focusing on these more frequently. Well, like I said, recently we got Jackbox Party 6, and I was like, nobody cares about this. While in Japan, they got The World Ends With You Final Remix, and I was like, well, that's the game that should have came here. Why did it only come in Japan? Well, now The World Ends With You Final Remix is actually getting a free game trial on the Nintendo Switch in North America. Now, this starts on the 10th, which is tomorrow if you're watching this video when it uploads, which you should be because your notifications are turned on, and this will be lasting until the 16th of November. During this time frame, you'll be able to pick up the full game for 30% off on the Nintendo Switch eShop from the 10th to the 23rd, and the sequel to the game will actually be on sale for 30% off until the 19th, also starting on the 10th. So this is smart. This is what Nintendo needs to be doing. It's only been a few weeks since they did Jackbox Party, and now they're doing yet another game with this game trial service. And I really feel like that's an area you can expand upon because that gives value to the Nintendo Switch's online service. Because now these people that are at the $20 tier are now getting to check out free full games. And maybe you could beat it if you power through it or something like that. And if you don't, you just simply buy the game at a discounted price on the eShop and continue your save file. So I really like this. I think this is an area that Nintendo needs to expand upon, and it's nice to see that they're doing it more frequently now. I hope this trend continues because sometimes they'll do things like this and then they'll completely forget about the service and it'll be like 2 or 3 months before you get another game trial. But there's no excuses for it now, especially with this premium tier that the expansion pack offers with NSO. So I'm a big fan of this. I might check out this demo of the game because I never got around to picking it up. I played it originally on the DS, but that was many moons ago and I really don't remember much from that game. So I'll be checking this out. Like I said, you'll be able to check out this full game trial from the 10th of November until the 16th of November. So let me know in the comments if you plan on doing that. And finally, a couple stories are coming out from the management briefing that, of course, we talked about a few days ago on the channel, but this is coming from the Q&A portion of this. This is where basically people ask President Furukawa questions directly, usually shareholders, which I'm still waiting for them to ask me for my questions. I own 12 shares of Nintendo. It's not making me money right now. I've lost money on this. I have questions for you, Nintendo. I have questions and you know who I am. But obviously there are going to be interesting questions that happen on this, and 2 questions popped up that I definitely want to go over in this Q&A session. So the first question I want to go over is basically, it was a 2-part question. The first part of the question talked about the upcoming Super Mario movie, which I don't really care about it, so it doesn't really do much for me. And the second part of the question was the more interesting part. Also, what are your thoughts on the differences between 3D Mario and side-scrolling 2D Mario in game software? And Mr. Miyamoto actually fielded this question and said the following: as for the difference between 2D Mario and 3D Mario, let me explain by describing the background for the development of the Wii game New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was released in 2009. At the time, it felt like each time we created a new installment in the Super Mario Bros. Bros. Series, which had then expanded into 3D, it became more complicated. After the release of Super Mario Galaxy in 2007, the goal was to develop a more accessible 3D Mario game, and the result was New Super Mario Bros. Wii, a basic side-scrolling game that even new players could enjoy easily. That later led to the release of the even simpler Super Mario Run game. When we developed that software, we strived to incorporate new elements, but at the same time, we want to make it easy for even first-time players to have fun. Recently, people of all generations have been enjoying the 3D Mario game Super Mario Odyssey, released in 2017. So for 3D Mario going forward, we want to try to expanding further in new ways. Now, I think that's interesting because he really didn't answer the question at all. Really, obviously we all sort of know the differences between 2D Mario and 3D Mario, such as character design, level structure, just how the games sort of play versus the 3D Mario games, which tend to be a bit more open-ended, a bit more exploratory, whereas a 2D Mario game, you're on more of a design path. But I think it's interesting how he sort of closed out this statement, saying, so for 3D Mario going forward, we want to try expanding further in new ways. And they didn't really ask, what the future of 3D Mario was. Now, many people think that there is going to be a new Mario game potentially in 2022. And I think that makes sense. You want to have another Mario game come out alongside of this movie. And if the movie is coming out in holiday 2022, obviously everything Mario is going to tend to sell very well. So you want to sort of, capitalize on that. And I feel like Super Mario Odyssey 2 is the perfect way to do it because you have the groundwork laid with Super Mario Odyssey 1. And that game was a lot different because of the whole Cappy mechanic and the whole ability to take on the role of sort of other characters within that game by using Cappy. And I feel like that's where you can expand upon this game, and that's where you can really expand upon the 3D genre. And I think that's the direction they should go in. I know a lot of people want like a new Super Mario Galaxy, but I really feel like Odyssey was like the perfect blend of all sort of things previously done in 3D Mario games and just made a awesome game top to bottom. And I'm not saying it's awesome just because it has dinosaurs, but that definitely does help. So could we see a 3D Mario game release in 2022 around the time of the film? I definitely think that there is a lot of expectation going with that, and I definitely think it's something we can see because it makes sense from a business perspective. And Miyamoto saying, oh, for the new 3D Mario game, we're looking to expand upon it, even though that wasn't the question asked, it's kind of a bit telling in my opinion. And of course, new hardware, new Nintendo Switch hardware. When is it coming? What sort of power will it have? And what will it look like? Will they keep this hybrid model, or what will they do with this? Well, somebody actually asked pretty directly what the future of the Nintendo Switch held as far as further revisions and upcoming systems during this Q&A session. We talked about this a few days ago on the channel with, of course, the slide that got a lot of people interested. Well, what's Nintendo doing? What are they going to be doing? What is this 20XX thing? But somebody just flat out asked it, and this is what President Furukawa said. So the question is, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the next generation of hardware, both its concept and launch timing. Nice and direct. I respect you. That's someone like me that's a shareholder. And President Furukawa said the following: we are not able to comment about the next game system at this time. It is now the 5th year since the launch of the Nintendo Switch, and total hardware sell-through has exceeded 90 million units. We recognize that this system is at the midpoint of its life cycle. The launch of the OLED model has been contributing to continued sales momentum, and we are now offering consumers 3 Nintendo Switch models to match their playstyle and lifestyle, as well as a wide range of software. With this, we believe the foundation for growth has been laid that exceeds what we had previously considered to be a conventional hardware life cycle. With regards to the next game system, we are considering many different things, but as far as the concept and the launch timing are concerned, there is nothing we can share at this time. So you might be looking at this and saying, well, that's really sort of a non-answer. And in theory, you are correct. But I always like to look at the wording. I always like to look at what is being said to look for the more subliminal messages and things. Because sometimes, much like this 3D Mario thing, which I think Miyamoto is essentially teasing, I think President Furukawa is saying something very interesting here. He is essentially saying that the Switch is at the halfway point of its life cycle with a 5-year span thus far. So they're wanting to do this system for 10 years. Spoiler alert. alert, this system's hardware as it stands right now is not going to last another 5 years. You already see it in first-party titles such as games like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and you saw this with the Nintendo 3DS as well, where some games were just running very poorly on the system because they wanted to do bigger things. So what did they do? They of course made the new Nintendo 3DS, which had additional power. It wasn't a huge gap, you know, it wasn't like a successor. It was a new Nintendo 3DS that was just simply more powerful, that allowed games to run better. Now, this didn't take off quite like Nintendo had expected it to, but there are some instances with games like Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS where it ran like ass on the regular 3DS, but on the new 3DS it ran phenomenal. It still ran on the 3DS, you could still play it, but there was a lot more optimization done for the new 3DS. And then of course you had exclusive titles for the new 3DS. So by saying that you have 3 systems available on the marketplace right now to match people's different play styles, I think that's almost false, because you really have 3 systems where only one of the systems is really dedicated for home use and the other 2 are more contingent on portable use. The OLED model obviously is best played in handheld mode because of the OLED screen. The Nintendo Switch Lite, you can't play it on your television. So those 2 systems are definitely more focused on the handheld side of things, whereas the standard Nintendo Switch is more focused on everything the system is accumulating. So what about a system, stop me if you've heard this before, but what about a system that'll be a stopgap before the next iteration of whatever Nintendo is doing for hardware? Something that still utilizes the Nintendo Switch, just with additional power, so that you can run games in better resolutions on your television. You can run games at better frame rates on your television. Your old games will be supported by this, and of course games going forward will also be supported like this. Almost like a Xbox One X or a PlayStation 4 Pro. I mean, I can't imagine Nintendo riding this system out for 5 more years without doing a hardware increase in terms of power. It's not going to be a huge gap, or it's not going to be like, you know, PlayStation 4 Pro quality graphics or anything like that. But Nintendo has to do something if they want this system to last another 5 years. And by giving a non-answer on this, which I think everyone sort of expected it to happen, you have to have something in the back of your mind that you're doing in order to justify having this system on the marketplace for another 5 years, especially as your flagship system, when some of your first party titles are starting to feel the strains of the current hardware it is on. So people are going to argue with this about me, you know, they're going to argue with me about this, is what I should say, in the comments down below. But I stand firm in thinking that Nintendo has to release a more powerful Switch if they want this to be their main system and the only system they have on the marketplace for at least another 5 years. I see what you're doing with this. You're doing it like cell phones, tablets, and things of that nature, where you offer incremental upgrades to keep people within that ecosystem, and then once in a while you might get a massive upgrade, which is actually worth it for a lot of people. But for the average person, you're just giving them more options within the current thing that you have already built, and that's what this has to be. And I think it's pretty telling, and I think we're gonna learn about something next year. Maybe it doesn't release next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start learning about something next year as far as a more powerful Nintendo Switch is concerned, but still keeping that Nintendo Switch branding and just essentially being a little bit of an increase over the current one. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Should be a spicy comment section. And as always, folks, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video. How about them Knicks, baby? Like, yes, Philadelphia was a bit depleted, but this is the NBA. You are putting your best foot forward. There's no excuses. They beat Philly twice this year. That's all I care about. The Knicks keep rolling. We're going to be fine. We're going to be in the playoffs, and we might beat your team in the first round. Knicks in 4. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.